Hello and welcome to the Arsenal BiteSize Podcast. I'm your host Clayton, and as always this season, here with a dramaless game to review. And to do that, I'm delighted to be joined by Finn, who was at the game yesterday. He went to Molineux. Finn, how you doing? How was your day yesterday? Before we get to the obvious.
Yeah, I was saying I hadn't had a real away sort of outside of London and not including obviously Brighton, which is quite close, for a good couple of months. So I was really sort of excited to go through the classic away day thing and Saturday 3 o'clock. We all love to do it. So I was really excited for the day. And yeah, I had a great day in general. Obviously, the game was an absolute roller coaster. But yeah, no, it was a good day in general. Very good.
Fair play. Yeah, no, we'll get to the obvious. So, like on this episode, we'll obviously talk through the refereeing incident, Lewis-Skelly's red card, Michael Oliver. Like we'll talk about all of that. But there are things from the game I actually want to talk about as well. So, yeah, curious to get your opinion on a few things. And for people listening live, and there's a couple in the chat as always, I'll shout them out. Bobby Loves in with something I'm not going to repeat, but for people watching on YouTube, you can read it for yourself. It says Michael Oliver. XYZ. Mike's in as always. Good afternoon, mate. No incidents to talk about. Dead pod. But yeah, for people watching live, I always make notes before these pods, right? Just because I've got the memory of a goldfish, and I think there's so many incidents that happen in football that I'm always conscious to try and remember everything. And there's going to be so many things from this game, and like my notes are 3 pages long from this. So if anyone's watching live and you feel like something's missed or not covered, like chuck it in the chat, because I think I may need some assistance in this one. We'll try cover it all, but like I think there's things from a footballing perspective, there's things from a refereeing perspective, there's things from a football governance perspective. Like there's so many angles to take it, but I don't want it to dominate the pod, while I do want it to have the kind of space it deserves. So we'll go there straight away. Like you were in the ground, right? And I messaged you on WhatsApp straight away, just because I was conscious you were in the ground.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you'd kind of see it, get the replays or anything like that.
It's always appreciated, because you don't get to see a lot in the ground a lot of the time with incidents like this.
So how did you interpret it from where you were? Because and where was the incident in relation to the away end? I can't quite remember.
So at Wolves, the away end is all across the touchline on the side of the pitch. So depending on where you are in the away end at Wolves, you could be right in front of it or you could be miles away. And to be honest, I was towards the other end of the stadium from where the incident was. I still think I got a pretty good view of it at the time. Obviously, it's never going to be 10 out of 10 in the football grounds. But yeah, there wasn't a single person around me who wasn't in an absolute state of shock when they saw that red card come out. And I said to someone at half time, if you go back and listen to the stadium, the coverage of the game without commentary, I think you would just hear 3,000 people collectively shouting the word, "What?" when they saw the red card come out. Because I know I did and everyone else around me did. And it was just like, I was thinking, is there something in this that I've not seen? Because from what I have seen, I can't work out how this could possibly be a red card.
Yeah, and there you speak about that kind of shock, right? Like I think we've had it before at that same fucking stadium, and I was in the away end for the one with Gabriel Martinelli. Not with the hindsight, just in the moment, just trying to capture how you were feeling. Like, how did it compare for you compared to that incident a couple of years ago where Martinelli got the 2 yellows? Like, was it a similar state of shock or worse? Or
I would say the Martinelli one was probably slightly worse, because the Martinelli one, I was especially thinking there must be something here I've not seen. There must be. Whereas the Lewis-Skelly one yesterday, again, I was thinking there might have been something I've not seen, but at least I saw a foul.
Yeah, sure.
A foul that I thought was a yellow card. So, yeah, compared to the Martinelli one, it probably wasn't quite as big of a shock, but it was in the same league, I would say.
Okay. And then did you get a chance to kind of see any of the replays while you were in the ground, or like, did you have to wait till you got home, match of the day? Like, when did you first start to see it away from being inside the ground?
There's always someone at half time that will come up and show you a replay of something happening in the first half, always. So I kind of saw it At Wolves, they kind of let you out at half time. They've got a little pen outside where you can sort of go for smoke or go and chat to people or whatever, which is quite nice. So I went out there and there was a couple of people showing me replays, and they're all kind of quite sort of dodgy Twitter ones where they're not in great quality and stuff, and you kind of look at them and there's people talking at you from all angles, and you're looking at a 5-second thing, and you don't want to really make a decision based on that because you're not really seeing it properly. So yeah, I saw it a couple of times at half time, and then obviously by the time I got on the train on the way back and I watched proper replays in good quality and stuff, yeah, I could see. But I mean, it only kind of backed up what I thought live, which was it was a ridiculous decision.
Yeah, and I guess that brings me on to the next one. Like, where's your headspace on it right now? Like, to timestamp it's Sunday the 26th, 1:00, 1 p.m. And was it the FA or the PGMOL have come out and kind of defended it and said that the process was followed correctly with VAR and everything? And where's your headspace at with it?
Well, I mean, I think my biggest frustration, it's something I said whilst obviously Lewis-Skelly stayed on the pitch for quite a long time. So there was sort of, I don't know exactly how long it was, but there was a good period of time where the players were sort of arguing and everyone was around the ref and stuff. And I said, why not use this? I mean, I can't say exactly how long it was. Why not use this time to go to the monitor? I mean, what have you got to lose by going to look at it again? You've got absolutely nothing to lose in that situation. I just do not understand how, especially when you've got that time, as I say, you don't go and have a look. I mean, it's there to help the referee. Why does he not allow it to help him?
Yeah, that's it for me. I think, like, my head was on Mars. Like, oh my God, I was mind blown. Like, I had to re-download the Twitter app to vent. Like, that's how mad I was. And I think that, like, so to be honest, when it first happened, I didn't think it was anything to do with the studs up or anything, because I didn't see that at all from it, like, even sat on the sofa watching it. But it was, I thought it was like, has you really done him for like a potential cynical foul 80 yards away? And then it was, as it was unfolding, I was like, okay, they're assessing it on this and that and studs and violence and cynical fouling and this and that. And but like, even that, my head was absolutely gone. And like, similar to Mike in the chat, he said he'll be honest, his head went at halftime, so the second half was a blur. I was the same. I was exactly the same, and same as Mike as well. He initially thought it was for denying a goal scoring opportunity, and that's exactly what I thought it was.
That is an interesting point, because I'll be honest, that is not something I actually considered at all when it happened. I thought, and it was probably stupid of me, because, like, as we've seen, it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world if they somehow managed to get us a red card like that from 80 yards. We've seen it with Saliba at Bournemouth. I mean, it wasn't 80 yards, but it was far enough away from goal. I never thought about the denying the goal scoring opportunity angle at all, to be honest, in the ground. But yeah, as you say, I'm sure a lot of people did, and I just thought there must have been some sort of studs or something that I didn't see. But yeah, I never thought of the denying goal scoring angle whatsoever.
Yeah, the only reason I went there was just because I couldn't see the studs immediately. Yeah. So I was like, in my head, so like, what the hell else could it be?
Yeah.
And then as you start seeing it, and I think this is the thing with, like, when you rewatch highlights and still, like, everything looks worse slowed down. Everything looks worse in a still. Like, and that football isn't played that way. Like, there was nothing in that challenge that was like an intent to harm or anything, or like malicious, or like, I mean, I went on a rabbit hole last night actually researching the laws of the game, and like on it, just because I wanted to get it straight in my head, like, what are the laws versus what they do? And I think, again, it comes down to the same thing for me. Like, it's consistency. Like, I actually want to, I don't know how to word it. I don't want to entertain the conspiracy shouts, but I do want to open a little Pandora's box and actually have a conversation with you about it in terms of where you land on things. But in terms of consistency, like, for me, there's an incident in the same game later on with Gomez where that was given as a second yellow, and how that is assessed against the same criteria that I'm going to read out in a second. And the determination when that was Myles Lewis-Skelly was a straight red, no VAR intervention needed, but João Gomez was a yellow card incident. Forget the fact that it was a second yellow and a red card. That's not how you referee football. In isolation, the two incidents, how he came to that conclusion against the criteria I'm about to read out just blows my mind. And then I think the other thing is like I think this is why Arsenal fans have a name for ourselves, right? Because we get gaslit, we get fueled, and like we got some weapons in the fan base. I'm not denying that, right? Especially on social media. But like when you literally look at last season, the Man City game and the Kovacic on, was it Odegaard, that incident, and kind of similar profile of what happened, where like goes studs up, and I think Kovacic was on a yellow, I want to say as well, and then for Howard Webb to come out after the game and say, "Oh, Michael Oliver doesn't like to negatively impact the game," and then you see how it's just the inconsistency that makes my blood boil, and I'm not for 1 second saying that we are on our own or it only happens to Arsenal. I think Wolves are probably statistically the team that have been fucked the most by
I think so,
So like I'm not for 1 second saying that, but the thing that really does my head in is the then gaslighting and tribalism that happens after from football fans, where it's like if we really want things to improve, we need to come together for stuff like this, and that's it for me. Like, but in terms of the the letters of the law, like I'm not going to go and be a lawyer and read it out and everything, but it's like according to the laws of the game, law 12 to be specific, there's different factors, right? There's serious foul play, there's reckless versus excessive force, there's studs up challenges. The one thing that I didn't know actually, every day is a school day, intent is irrelevant, to be fair, so I didn't actually know that. In terms of serious foul play, the definition is a tackle or challenge that endangers the safety of an opponent or uses excessive force. Was anyone watching that thinking Myles Lewis-Skelly committed a tackle or a challenge that endangered the safety of the opponent using excessive force? Michael Oliver was 2-3 yards away. Like, I think the concern for me was how ready and quick he was to go and make that decision. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's kind of what I mean. Like, he must have known, even if he kind of had something in his head that said that it was kind of a dangerous challenge, studs up or whatever. He must have been on the fence with it. And again, that comes back to my point. Why did he not go to the monitor and have a look at it? I mean, even if he doesn't change his mind, it still gives you a little bit more peace of mind that he's at least actually looked back at it. And we're still going to be annoyed, but you can at least say, oh, at least he went and looked at it again, and now he really has to come out and defend his decision because he's seen it twice now.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. Is a lot of it is like you kind of make your bed and then you have to lay in it, right? And like that's not what we kind of want. And I just think like fundamentally, again, when I was looking at like the laws and everything, I just feel like there is such a lack of context and actual humanity in how they make decisions sometimes, where they just lack common sense. Like even the Declan Rice second yellow from the Brighton game, right? Like I don't want to go and bring up rabbit holes and stuff, but like we all grew up watching football and falling in love with football, not because of the technicality of the laws of the game, did we? Like, and I feel like I grew up falling in love with this football game, and I feel like I'm falling out of love with it because of how it's being refereed at the minute. And like that Declan Rice one for me was a perfect case of, was he actually trying to gain an advantage there? Like, what would have been wrong with just having a chat with him, saying, "Look, mate, this is what happened." Like, a little warning if you do it again. And it's the same with this. Like it's fine to have a yellow card there, but I just think it's the inconsistency and stuff, and then it's the way that they try to always justify it. And I don't know. Like I look at the same incident from the same game in João Gomez and think, what the hell is that about?
I really don't understand that. And I mean, I think it's possibly a cop out because he sort of knew that the second yellow was going to produce a red. So he's ended up sort of copping out and going. And I do find that referees tend to do this quite a lot. If a player's on a yellow and they make what you would probably describe as a red card challenge, they will just give a second yellow and a red for whatever reason. I don't know.
When they shouldn't, right? They should assess it on the incident as it is.
100%,
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, do you know what? If you're assessing it on the technicalities, you can this sounds so weird to say, like you can kind of understand a little bit, a tiny bit where he's coming from on a technicality. Like he's assessing from where he could see, like were the studs up, like where did he catch the player, this and that. But like how you can then come to that conclusion in that space of time without, like you say, going and checking the monitor, like VAR going through that process and deeming that he doesn't need to do. I just think that, again, a broken record here, like flipping off. We were playing a drinking game for every time I said consistency, but like it's the consistent application of the technical laws that I don't get it. And I feel like I don't want to be that guy, and I'm really struggling to not make these words come out of my mouth. But when I watch Arsenal, I feel like I'm only ever seeing the technicalities applied to the heightened level against us. And it's literally against in the Liverpool Ipswich game. There was an incident where I forgot who it was. Someone clattered into, I want to say, Endo. Like we've seen the docu on was it McAllister last season? Like even earlier this season, Klein going in on Havertz. Like these things happen when you're lunging for a ball. It's just it's the inconsistent technical application that blows my mind.
And how often do you see on Twitter from some of the more annoying troll type accounts on a weekly basis stills from games which make challenges look like they were studs up and dangerous, where in reality you play the clip and they never were, and they're never red cards other than yesterday.
Yeah, literally. I kind of touched on it, and yeah, I never know how to kind of start these conversations, but where is your headspace in terms of incompetence versus corruption versus agenda versus conspiracy? Like, and no judgment from me. Like, I genuinely, from a curiosity perspective at this point.
Yeah, I would say the one thing I would say to start with is I know some Arsenal fans have gone down this road. I don't think there is a, like dyed in the wool conspiracy to stop us like winning any games of football. I think that's going too far. What I think does exist to a degree, and it's different with different referees, is I think there's, I don't know if you describe it as unconscious bias or conscious bias against us and against a lot of our players for whatever reason. I mean, I don't want to go too much into details on this, but I think it does exist, and I think it's something that's existed since the Wenger days.
No, go for it, mate.
It's something that's ever really disappeared. I think as well that the elephant in the room for me is the fact that almost every referee in the Premier League is from the northwest of England. I just think, how can you say that is in any way balanced? There's always going to be biases there to a certain extent. You've got, I mean, I saw one, I don't necessarily subscribe to this because as good as Lewis-Skelly is, he's probably not viewed by other teams as like a key player for us.
Yeah.
But, people going, oh, Mikel Arteta supports Newcastle and he'd be out for 3 games, he'd be out for the Newcastle game. When you've got clashes like that, and this is not to say that people like Michael Oliver are cheating overtly, but I think when you have clashes like that, there is naturally going to be an unconscious or conscious bias.
100%.
So, corruption, fully corrupt, I wouldn't go down that route, but is there biases? Is there historical biases? Is there biases now? I would say yes, to an extent. I mean, I don't want to go completely conspiracy theory nutter sort of route, but
I'll do it.
It does exist.
No, I'm basically 98% the same as you. I'll explain the only 2% difference there where I'll go conspiracy nut. Yeah, I'm basically the same as you there. I just think, do you know what? When all of those videos about David Coote came out, right? The general thing was, I mean, what was the general feeling? Like, oh yeah, he's a human. Of course he hates people. Of course he has this, as long as he kind of objectively does his job. But as soon as those videos came out, it made you question his integrity, right? And I just think, I don't know, we've seen, like, Arteta's been quite vocal about the PGMOL, right? He's been quite vocal about referees and stuff in the past. And I just have a little bit of a concern that those biases are there, whether, like you said, whether they're conscious or unconscious. I think there's like 80% incompetence. Like I'm the same as you. I don't think it's outright conspiracy. I don't think it's outright corruption, but I think there's 80% just they are inconsistent in their jobs because they are not good enough. But then I do think there is an element of they are human beings, and every human being is susceptible to your feelings. You can't control your feelings and how you like. There's people in day-to-day life I meet that are probably sound as hell, and I can't stand them for whatever reason. Imagine a world of football where there's so much heightened emotion, like. And a really good point you make there as well is about all the referees being from the same pool, from the same region of the country. Like, I can't stress how much of an impact that has on like people's. But football is a game that is refereed a lot on interpretation, right? The way you interpret things and your whole belief system, so much of that is based on the geography of where you were brought up, the people you're around, like the belief systems you develop. Like if you've got everyone refereeing from one part of the world, you're never going to get a diversification of thinking, and it blows my mind. So I share the sentiment with you so much. The only I joke about the 2%. Like I'm not going conspiracy theorist here, but this is the first time of my adult life I've entertained this conversation. Like, again, I don't think there's a conspiracy against Arsenal blatantly, this, that, but like, all I would say is in a football world where there is actual evidence of corruption with Infantino, Platini, Blatter, in FIFA, UEFA, like was in Serie A, there were teams that were done penalized. Like that's not a subjective opinion. That's fact. Things have happened in football, in other organizations, in other leagues. Like I just find it a little bit weird that everyone is so quick to just dismiss it straight away. Like I must say, like I'm not quite there myself with it. I do think it's far-fetched. I don't think there's anything specifically against Arsenal, but like in a world where it has existed in other organizations and other leagues within the same sport, I just don't know why we have this thing that because it's in England, like there's absolutely no way.
I mean that's nonsense. That's sort of English/British sort of exceptionalism that doesn't really exist. But I think as well, there's one. I mean, I wouldn't go fully down this road, but I can see why people do. There's a big sort of mitigating factor that's become bigger over recent years, which is the TV deals, the increase in coverage on sort of Sky Sports, major media outlets, even small media outlets, over the game on a daily basis. And you can very easily turn around and say certain decisions have been made possibly to keep the wheels churning of the punditry during the week. You know, if something big happens on a Saturday or Sunday, major refereeing decision, whatever. I mean, Sky Sports or whoever else. I mean, there's plenty of others. Obviously, I can't name off the top of my head. Have got their story for the rest of the week, and you know, a cynic would say there's big money involved in that sort of thing, and maybe decisions are going ways they are, so it keeps the whole show running. I don't know if that's happening or not, but someone might say that.
Yeah, and I think that the other factor there is, again, like just the way the game's changing, right? Like, I think it's just putting yourself in positions to be opened up to these conspiracy theories and stuff. And like when you've got a referee that gets paid to go and referee a game offshore by a state-funded nation that owns a football club in the league, like again, I don't want to go down the route, but like it's just you putting yourself in a position to be opened up to weird shit, man. Like just
100%.
Don't do it. Like it's just, and I think the biggest thing for me is the David Coote thing. Like if videos came out of if you could ask Michael Oliver his actual opinion on Mikel Arteta, like we all know what he'd say. But it's just because David Coote got caught that it's like, it changed the opinion on things. And it's like, mate, I think you know me quite well, right? I'm quite a chill person, mate. My blood's fucking boiling doing this pod. I want to stop it now. But it's good to get it all out of the system, though. But is there anything else on that topic that you want to talk about before we talk about the game?
I just think as well. I just think there's as I say, there is sort of, I don't know if it's unconscious bias or whatever. I think it does exist, and I think a lot of our fans, maybe not a lot, but some do go a bit over the top of it, and you've got to kind of pick your battles because there's some people that are sort of kicking off every single week.
Yeah, it's the boy who cried wolf with our fan base, isn't it?
Yeah, and when that happens, you really sort of dampen the reaction you're going to get to a real sort of injustice. So I would say, you know, keep your powder dry until we really get fucked over. Don't, you know, cry every week about something because you will sort of delegitimize your point to an extent.
Yeah, well said. Like I've seen so many, and to that point, like I must say, it is. I think in the way social media blows things up, it does look like it's everyone around you. But I think in the grand scheme of like the volume of fans we got, it is the minority. But those minority do give us as a fan base a bad name. And you're right, like there are incidents every week. Okay, maybe not every week, but there are some incidents that I see some of our fans complain about, and I'm like, mate, no, like we don't have a leg to stand on there. Just own it. And as a result, like you say, like when it gets to the ones where there's an actual injustice, it is like a bit the boy who cried wolf, because Arsenal fans have now been painted with this perception. It's almost like we don't have a leg to stand on. But I must say, in this one, I think it's quite telling. Like it feels like it's been a unanimous kind of belief from everyone that it's been nonsense. I think Jamie O'Hara saying stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that tells you everything you need to know. If he's saying it was nonsense, it's you've got certainly a leg to stand on.
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah. That, to be fair, I said I was annoyed having to talk about it, and my blood was boiling. It actually felt quite cathartic getting it all off my chest.
Yeah.
So we'll turn attention to the game though, and
yeah,
like there's lots of things I want to cover from this game. To be honest, I'm interested on what your perception was of the performance prior to the red card.
I thought, and this is kind of what I said at half time to a few people. I thought we were on top without completely dominating. So, like, I think we had probably the better run of things, but Wolves were certainly putting together decent moves, and they had a couple of sort of chances and stuff. I thought Wolves played reasonably well, especially in the first half. But I thought we were, as I say, on top without complete domination, which, in an away game, you can never complain too much about.
Yeah, it did. I've spoken a few times this season about this kind of obsession with control without penetration. And like I think the template of the best Arsenal that I've seen has been like in that first half against Liverpool this season, that first half against Sporting, where I felt like we had the balance between intent and purpose in how we attack, but also that element of control and that stranglehold approach. I just feel like the best version of this Arsenal team is a balance of the two, not one of or the other. And mate, if I'm being honest, something I put in my notes in the first half was we are dull. Like again, like that this isn't me kind of going back and saying, like, trying to justify how I was thinking or try to revise what I was thinking. Like that's literally what I wrote watching it in the first half. The other thing I said was too slow in the first phase, and I agree with you. I felt like we were kind of in the right areas, controlling where we wanted to be, but without any threat. And that feels like it's been a little bit of a theme recently.
And I think something I really noticed, especially in the first half, I was on the front row yesterday, so I was kind of quite close to the pitch. So I kind of got a bit more of a feel for the game whilst it was down my side. And there was certain individual matchups where, I'm not going to name names, but you would expect our player to have sort of the run on the Wolves player marking him.
I'm going to ask you to name names, just like, again, you're not throwing anyone under the bus, just for me to understand. That's
I think one I kind of really noticed was Martinelli against. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the guy's.
Oh yeah, no, me either.
But you were kind of, and even Trossard, I guess, on the other side in the first half. And I was thinking, I really expect you to have the run of this guy sort of for pace, as a sort of bog standard before we start going into anything else. And when you're not even seeing that, you think it's really going to take something special for us to unlock a door here, because we can't even worry them with pace or get round the outside or come in the inside and pull players out of position, because if you haven't got the pace on someone, you haven't got anything.
Mate, that's something you said there. Again, it aligns with something I put in my notes. Like, we seem obsessed with crosses at the minute, and like I remember there was one moment, like we'll talk about Havertz's chances in a bit, but like, the one where we moved it out wide. I think Trossard crossed it in and he headed it just wide. Not the one where like we could have said Havertz could have scored. The one like not that one. The one prior to that. I don't know if I've described it well. I don't know if you remember the build. Okay, the build up to that chance. Sorry, I don't know if you remember it, but like we worked it really nicely, right? Like it was a rare time it felt like we had an overload on the right. I want to say it was like Partey, Waneri, Martinelli that manipulated the space nicely. Martinelli got into a central space, and I've got a real concern about one of our attacking patterns of play at the minute. Martinelli gets the ball, dribbles centrally, and he is head on with their backline. He is literally in the middle of the pitch, goals there.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's almost like they're coached to get it out wide. And I think that the concern for me is you're in a central area where you can jam a knife through the heart of the opposition. Yeah. But the obsession is to go out wide, get the cross in. And I know the cross was good. I know Havertz got a header, but like, as much as I think Havertz should have scored in this game, I don't think that first header was one I was like outstanding, like speechless that he missed. And so like one of my concerns is without Bukayo Saka and without Odegaard in this game, we still look to try and play the same way all the time, where it's manipulate things to get it out wide and get crosses in. And I don't know, do you think, I mean, Havertz puts one of them away. We're having a different conversation. So, like, where are you at with that? And do you think it's a valid concern, or am I being a bit dramatic?
I think it's definitely frustrating, and it's like the kind of almost forcing the ball out wide for the sake of it, and right to the sort of byline. I think the best, the times in the first half I kind of got up the most, and I was quite excited about how a move was going, was when either Lewis-Skelly played a line-breaking pass to someone who was in a pocket, or a line-breaking pass was played by Partey, or, you know, Timber to Waneri, and he took it on the turn, and he got running at players in inside the pockets, not wide, inside the half spaces. And that's what we're just lacking so much, and it's been a theme all season. Odegaard, when he has been playing, has become really deep. He's not been in the half spaces. We've had no one sort of filling those gaps, and we had no one again on the left, really, strictly speaking, yesterday. But when that ball was going into one area and in the right half space in the first half, and he was getting on the turn, and that was when probably the only real points in the first half where you were looking at the game and you were seeing the Wolves defenders were panicking and they were flying in or they're backing off, they didn't know what to do. And it's, you know, it's the way good teams have had success for the past 15, 20 years, and it's the way we've had success when we've played well. And you think, if I could just see a bit more of that, it would be brilliant, because those are the moments in the first half, but they were just so few and far between. It was frustrating.
I think that's it. Like, and that's kind of what I speak about when I talk about the template of what I think we are at our best. It's a balance. Like, us at our best does involve the getting it wide and crosses, but it also involves what you said there, the combination play in tight areas, the ability to get into half spaces. And I think we look like we're lacking that in periods in games at the minute. Another thing is, like, I feel like our game model, it's so good, right? Like, when everyone's fit, everyone's healthy, available, like, I think we blow teams away. But I would like to see more diversity in what we do when we don't have everyone fully fit and available, because we're still trying to do and build up in the same way, in my opinion. And it's like our game model is actually built on getting players out wide and stuff, right? But the reality is, in my opinion, I think our wide players that are available right now are good to average. I don't think they're exceptional. No. I think they're inconsistent in their output and stuff. But yeah, that's just something that's been on my mind recently. But yeah, how did you assess Havertz in that kind of first half with the chances? We obviously touched on that header there. That there was a second one which I think he should have done better on, with Trossard putting in it. The difference is, I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite there, because that came from a cross, but there's a difference, in my opinion, between like a front-footed cross where you're putting it on a plate for someone to attack it, versus getting it wide, cutting back to then put a cross in, which loops and takes momentum out. I don't know if I've explained that.
It's like a high percentage cross versus a low percentage cross, basically. I thought he played okay in the first half. I don't think he was amazing. I don't think he was like terrible either. He was okay. But I mean, I could probably say the same about him in most games, especially recently. He should have absolutely buried that second chance without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to win games of football, your striker has to be scoring that. It's as simple as that. You can't defend or deny the fact that should be ending up in the back of the net. Again, though, you know what you're getting with Kai, inconsistencies with the finishing and stuff, but great work rate, put everything on the line in the game, look to bring other people in. I just think it's slight, you know, nuances with the movement where sometimes he comes out at the wrong time or he goes forward at the wrong time. And I can see what he's trying to do, but it doesn't always align with the rest of the team. I don't know if that's his fault or it's everyone else's fault, but yeah, there's just certain moments where he drops into pockets or he goes out wide and stuff. I don't think the rest of the team really follow along with what he's doing, and it creates a confusion and it creates an issue. But yeah, he should certainly have scored in the first half. But yeah, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 in the first half. Okay performance, but nothing special.
From the front row, I mean, I bet at full time you were just in the middle of celebrations because that was us against the world kind of vibes, weren't it? But like, have you seen him at full time? I don't know if you saw it from where you were or if you've seen the clip doing the rounds. That's all. There's a clip doing the rounds, mate. He just, I don't know if you saw Odegaard at full time against Spurs. He literally just collapsed to the ground. Like
I don't think I saw that actually. I don't think I saw that. I'll go and have a look after the pod.
You'll probably see it later, but yeah, the full time whistle goes and he just collapses to the floor. And like, I think he's someone like, I mean, I should have checked this before, but I feel like he's played every minute of every game recently.
It doesn't feel that way, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like we just don't have so he played 90 obviously yesterday, 74 against Zagreb, 90 against Villa, 90 against Tottenham, 120 against Man United, 90 against Newcastle, 90 against Ipswich. Like, I just think I'm not defending the misses because that header is inexcusable in my opinion, that second one. But I do think that we are absolutely playing him into the ground at the minute. And yeah, one thing I'll say on the chances, by the way, you know the Chelsea game last year at home? Was it 5-0, right?
Yeah, 5-0, yeah.
Havertz missed a couple of chances in that game, but we don't remember it because we created enough to wallop them. There was another game last season that's escaped me, I'll be honest, but it was another one where he missed a couple chances but scored 1 or 2 in the game. And we don't talk about it because we created enough to win the game comfortably. And I think that's the thing. Like, obviously, the game was dictated by the red card in the end, right? But like, I do think in the second half, we 11v11, we probably would have created enough where we got away with it. But I do think it's a thing with Havertz of like, he's never going to be the prolific goal scorer, but he has his value to add to us as a group. I just think we need another option to rotate and give us something in and around him and something different.
For sure.
Yeah, I think in terms of the first half, just looking at my notes, that's a lot of it. The one thing I forgot to say, again, I don't know if you've seen this clip, made me laugh, was Trossard when Gomez got his first yellow card for kicking the ball away. Have you seen that clip?
I don't think so. As I say, I've not seen it. I've not really seen many sort of little clips or whatever from the game. I saw the kind of highlights package. That's about it.
It was literally Trossard going to Gomez like, bro, he literally did the same to me. And it's like I've kind of undersold that. It's quite funny when you see it, but even that, it's like, I mean, would that have planted a seed in Oliver how he reffed the game? I don't know. And even the second half, like you can tell it got in Oliver's head after the red because I thought he was managing refereeing the game poorly, but against Wolves, I thought we were getting things that weren't fouls in our favour. And like,
I can certainly say the Wolves faithful were very much getting on Oliver's back until the sort of red card incident. They really weren't happy with how he was reffing the game. So yeah, that would kind of correlate with what you're saying.
I'm interested in because from the TV, the away end did seem quite quiet in the first half, if I'm being honest. But then second half, I know these things turn into a bit of a cringe comment, but like it did come across as that us against the world vibe. And like for me, I fucking loved hearing the Super Mikel Arteta chant in the stands because I think in social media adversity recently, like it's been a bit divided. But I loved hearing it. So like, what was the difference in the away end from the first half versus the second half? And do you think a lot of it was fueled by the performance? Because me personally, I thought we were better when we went down to 10 men than we were in the first half in terms of excitement. Anyway.
I mean, the end of the first, I will caveat all of this by saying the way Wolves set up their away end is so sort of annoying for atmosphere because they stretch the away end over the entire length of the pitch, and I don't know how to explain this. It's like
just one long horizontal line, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 9 or 10 rows deep, which if you go to a normal football sort of end, you'll know it's really, really shallow, and it goes all the way down the sort of touch line. So and the stand it's in is quite sort of exposed. So if I'm down on the right-hand side and my mate's down on the left-hand side and he's sort of chanting something, I'm not going to hear him. Which is kind of weird in a way, and it's not normally like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, first half was, it was kind of a bit subdued. I thought maybe the game wasn't great. I mean, I never really want to blame that on the.
I think it influences it.
It does influence it, but I'm very much someone who believes that your support in the ground shouldn't necessarily be influenced by the sort of performance. I think you should
just be loud and proud regardless.
You should be loud regardless. I mean, obviously a lot of people can't manage that for whatever reason, so it's fine. I've made my peace with that a long time ago. But it was kind of subdued in the first half. It wasn't great, but I think the fact that just got the blood boiling and everyone went out at half time and they had a rage and they had people were not shouting at each other but having an animated conversation about what had happened. And then as soon as I came out into the second half, into the away end, it was like night and day. Like the away end was up, Oliver was getting stick, the noise levels went up, the even just the pod.
Sorry, man, I can't hear you. That you went on mute for a couple of seconds.
Oh, sorry.
Good?
Yeah, I think we've got quite a nice thing these days, especially in the Arteta era, where we're very acutely aware of when the players need our support, and we really do provide our support when that happens, and it is such a nice. And it's something that happened again yesterday. We came out in the second half, and it was just, even if you can just go out there and just shout, like just in general, like make some noise, like even that's enough. Like maybe not everyone's going to go in for every chant or whatever, but even if you just go out there and shout and be, the players buzz off it, and second half was a marked improvement in the away end atmosphere and things like this, and you could tell the players appreciated it. But as you say, first half was a bit subdued, but, recency bias, when you leave the ground, you don't really remember that. You just remember that it was good in the second half. So
yeah, no, of course. And you're right, like the way end at Wolves is weird. You're right, though, like on terms of how much it influences the players. And like Arteta has been so vocal about it in his whole time at the club, right? And I think the biggest thing in terms of like, how as a fan base within the ground, we feel like we know when they need us. Like the Tottenham game for me was the best example of that, where I think the atmosphere for that game was really good for once this season. Like at home, I actually think the atmosphere has been quite poor this year. And then we go 1-0 down, and I was thinking, how's this going to go? And like I think everyone took a couple of minutes to get themselves together, but then we all went again, right? And like I think a lot of that influenced how we recovered in that game. And it felt like that yesterday again. Like the us against the world thing can be perceived as a bit cringe, but I think the players buy into that shit. I really think they do, and I think some of them thrive off it. And like, I mean, the performance versus fan kind of input is quite interesting, because like I do think the approach in the first half was that of control, and it is hard to kind of get those, like you spoke about yourself, right? It's the moments of the line breaking passes, the things that get you off your seat, like the Myles Lewis-Skelly dribble in the first minute. Like, that was outrageous, by the way. But it's that sort of stuff, and I think the second half had a lot more of that. It had a lot more of that bite, and I mean, I just thought like someone that was pivotal to it, in my opinion, and he has been in the last few weeks, Declan Rice. Like, flipping hell, how good has he been, and how good was he yesterday?
I thought Declan Rice was by far the best player on the pitch yesterday. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. It was for me one of his best performances in an Arsenal shirt. He covered every blade of grass. He went in for every tackle. He was taking responsibility on the ball to carry ball. He had that shot early in the second half where he really tested Jose Sarni. He wrapped the gloves, and it reminded me of the sort of big centre midfield performances you used to get in the Premier League in the 2000s, where Vieira for us, or Gerrard, or Lampard, or whoever you want to sort of name, in the two-man midfield era when they would just pick the ball up on the edge of their own box and they drive with it. They smash a hard pass, they smash a shot off, and they were aggressive. They were buzzing. They were really feeding off everything. They even enjoyed people smashing into them because it was just getting them more and more riled and up for the game. I just thought it was an unbelievable performance, and it was great to watch. You could just see how much he wanted it, and you could see how much he wanted the responsibility. And I think there has been times with Declan where it hasn't looked like he's wanted the responsibility of the ball, especially when he's been playing in the six. And yesterday he was just grabbing it, and you could just tell he was so up for it, and it was just brilliant to watch. One of his best performances in an Arsenal shirt for me.
Mate, you need to be a football manager or a captain, because I was ready to run for a fucking wall there. Honestly, you're bang on. Like he was phenomenal. I've been guilty recently, right, of getting caught in this stupid discussion of like, is he a 6? Is he an 8? Like, who fucking cares? We have got someone that can do it all over the pitch, that has got an engine on him. Like, I have not seen at this football club, honestly, since Vieira, man. I haven't seen someone cover the blade of grass like he does since Vieira. Not comparing them as players, do you know? But there are similarities there. I know it sounds bonkers. Not going to go down that route. But... No,
exactly as I say, though. I think he is a throwback to that era where you had two in midfield, and the player had to cover a load of grass and be good going forward, be good going backwards, and you know, if you can actually have a player like that in this day and age, it's like having an extra player on the pitch.
Mate, 100%. And like I said, I'm guilty of it, right? And you know me, I'm a nerd for tactics, but like I am quite a Barclaysman football player at heart as well. Like, and that's it. It's like, forget is he a 6? Can he play in pockets? Can he do progressive part? Like he can do everything. Like just enjoy it. Like, and I think it'll be, again, like fast forwarding to next year, but like you kind of look at that Zubimendi signing and think, oh, is that a kind of nudge to the kind of traditional midfield too, of like someone that's great on the ball and someone that is that fucking fuck off powerhouse midfielder that can do it all. And I just think, in moments of adversity, like he is a freak. His mentality, oh my God, it's almost like the kind of easy games. He knows he just needs to do it in gear 2 or 3, and the minute shit hits the fan, he's like, "No, I'm hitting this." He feels tailor-made for a Champions League, like
without a doubt. Some players thrive off it, and it's what they live for. And I think that really is the case with Declan. He's got that experience of being at West Ham for so long and having to drag them almost single-handedly through certain games. And I think that's only can be a positive for us, where he's getting slightly older now, and we've got a relatively young squad as well. So I think he's putting more responsibility on himself, and he's certainly ready, and he's certainly able to take that on. So I think that can only benefit us.
Yeah, 100%. And we speak about the kind of us v them and like moments of adversity. I think someone else that loves it, and Gabriel, like it was nice to see him as captain yesterday. Like he's someone that, I mean, from the moment he came in, that was just after the COVID year, I think, right? Was it the Fulham away game where he made his debut, maybe?
Yeah.
He's been here for a long time. He's been there when we were shit. He's been there when we were mid-table. He's seen every squad get to the level where it is now. And it was a nice moment to see him captain.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And he fucking loves it, don't he?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, funnily enough, I was having a sort of... not an argument, but sort of a debate with my mate on the way back to the pub after one of the home games recently. And he was saying, Gabriel's better than Saliba. I just love him. And I said, it's not a case of one of them being better than the other. They're just completely suited to each other. Gabriel is the aggressive, likes going for a challenge, a header. He likes to play on the front foot. Saliba's the more reserved, conservative, doesn't like to drop in, likes to cover, likes to sweep. And it's not a case of one being better than the other. They're just so suited to each other, and they're just a perfect duo. And put them up there with Van Dijk, and that's your 3 best centre backs in the world, without a doubt. But yeah, great to see him with a captain's armband. He's gone through a lot of this club, and he didn't. People probably forget, but he didn't.
Mate, I wanted him out of the 11 at one point.
When he joined, he wasn't necessarily the player he is today. think Saliba helped him a lot when he came into the team. But yeah, no, it's great to see because he's had a journey at the club, and yeah, he's just brilliant player.
Big time, man. I remember, like, I'll be honest, hold my hands up. There was a period where I wanted him out of the team for a little bit, where he was making mistakes and stuff, and I was doubting his kind of ball playing ability. But like, how wrong has he proved me? And like, he's now one of my favourite players at the club. He's absolutely love him. It's worth saying, like, I know we obviously got the result and it was 1-0 and deserved win, but like flipping out, there were moments where I had my heart in my mouth where Cunha put it just wide. I think Ryan made a save from one. There was a moment in the first half, to be fair, where Semedo, I think, like it was quite early on, was bombing down the right, putting a cross, and Sarabia volleyed it over. But Wolves didn't take those chances. We rode a tiny bit of luck, and I mean the sub at just after it was at half time, wasn't it? Calafiori on for Waneri. Like, what was your kind of reaction to that in the ground? I imagine emotions were quite heightened being in there as well.
Yeah, I think one thing to say is, well, I kind of came out probably. You try and get back in for kickoff, but you do invariably miss a minute or two most of the time. So it's always a thing in the ground of getting in, and you see Calafiori's on the pitch, and it takes you sort of like 30 seconds to a minute to kind of work out who's actually come on for.
Sure.
So I was trying to work out who'd gone off, and I realised in the end it was Waneri. I was disappointed because I thought, as I said earlier in the pod, I thought Waneri, when he got on the ball, was our best player in the first half. So I was that was me thinking that something that I said at half-time had come true, which is that we were going to sit in and try and play for a draw. When I saw that Calafiori had come on, that isn't how it ended up being. Luckily, we really did go at them. But yeah, my initial reaction when I saw Calafiori come on for Waneri is, we're just going to shut up shop and try and get a draw and go home.
That's one thing, actually, I want to say. Like, I was so proud of how they played because I thought the same. I thought we were just going to set up shop, take a draw. Like, against Brighton, I was really disappointed with how we immediately reacted to the red cards, and they almost seemed a bit surprised. Against City, in the context of where City were at the time at the Etihad, I understood why we played the way we did. Against Bournemouth, like, we didn't really look like we were ever going to do anything. But in this game, mate, I said it, maybe it's hyperbolic. I thought we were better with 10 than we were in the first half, in my opinion, in this game. And it's interesting on Waneri. Like, I felt the same as you in the sense that I always felt like he's the one that's going to make something happen. But I do think he kind of lost the ball a fair bit. And I saw a lot of similarities with, I know he scored against Brighton, but against Brighton, I wasn't as high on the performance as others. Yeah. And I kind of landed there again on yesterday. So I kind of understood it. But I think that's the thing with Calafiori. Like, on the face of it, people are like, oh, he's bringing on a defender, right? But this man is far from a defender in his DNA and in his head, isn't it?
It's fucking bonkers. I think there's a comparison to one I kind of thought of last night was how sort of Gvardiol's been doing for City, where he bombs up the left-hand side. And they're both players that were bought as centre-backs. You never expected this sort of aspect of their game, but it seems to be the best part of their game, where they arrive in unexpected ways and they kind of play that attacking role in a bit of an unorthodox style, but it kind of really works because the defenders can't really track them properly. And yeah, I mean, for me, the jury is still most definitely out on Calafiori's defensive ability at left back. But yeah, when he's going forward and affecting the game so well going forward, you can't really complain. And look, he won us the game yesterday, so that gives him a lot of breathing space. And yeah, it's just great. One of the best, sort of most effective subs I can remember, especially this season.
Yeah, 100%. And like, just when that goal went in, oh my God! Like, what a finish as well to control and put that in the way he's done that. Fair play. But what was it like in the away end?
It was as I said, I was on the front row, so if you're on the front row, you don't see the carnage so much. You just kind of feel it behind you. So I jumped straight up onto the poles in front, and I was, trying to get onto the pitch as you always do. But yeah, it was just absolute carnage because you're thinking, this is going to be 0-0. It's not going to be a great result, whatever. And you're so angry from what happened before with the red card and stuff. It's just such a good release of that stress, and you can you know, if you can release that and you can leave, you can leave the ground relatively happy, even with all the nonsense that had gone on before. So yeah, no, it's just an absolute release of anger and frustration, and just it's what we go to these games for. It's what we go to these games for. I mean, I would be more than happy to win every away game 1-0. You get that big let off and keep a nice clean sheet, and they all leave with 10, 15 minutes to go because they're pissed off. That for me is the perfect away game. So yeah, brilliant.
100%. And like, I don't know if you shared this sentiment, but like I said, I was really impressed with how we were playing with 10 men anyway. But then when João Gomez was rightly sent off, like I just felt confident. I was like, yeah, that's it. We're going to go and do it now. Saliba celebrated it quite funnily, actually. And Calafiori got that goal 4 minutes later. It's like, Vitor Pereira, he was fuming with João Gomez.
Yeah.
Absolutely fuming. I seen his interview. He was like, yeah, we spoke at halftime. He said, I'm emotionally balanced. And then he goes and does that. So yeah, he was fuming. But yeah, 1-0. Get that in, and yeah, absolutely buzzing. Kieran Tierney came on, which I think is always nice. Obviously, you follow Celtic as well, so you must have been happy to see him a few times the last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think could happen there?
I think. I mean, to be honest, I thought he was going to go in January, but we're getting close to the sort of deadline, and he's not. He's coming on in games and stuff, so. It's hard to say, really. I know his contract's up in the summer, and I fully expect him to sign a sort of pre-contract with Celtic. Whether or not that ends up being us sort of loaning him there, and then he signs on in the summer, I don't know. I would say, see it so late in the window now, and he's coming on in games, and he's filling holes. Probably we will want to keep him till summer. But yeah, I fully expect him to be back up the road in the summer and back in the hoops.
Yeah, in the summer, definitely. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Chan, because there's lots of Zinchenko leaving talks, right? So I don't know if Zinchenko goes, if we'll be inclined to keep Tierney, but yeah, want to keep an eye on. But yeah, I think that for me was just like, this is where the discourse around the manager does my head in / confuses me so much sometimes, because I think previous Arsenal teams in those same circumstances would have absolutely lost their head, would have played the emotional game in front of them. And Arteta cited it in his post-match, like the intelligence of the team to come away. It's the grit, the determination. They're not two words I associated with Arsenal for years, man. Like I love this kind of backs against the wall, seeing them grind the shit out. And honestly, like I know this season's been a disappointment. I don't want to be that guy. I hate toxic positivity, but like I think in the same, with the circumstances we've been under, to be second in the league, but I don't think there's many clubs in the same situation would be in the same position we are. And I'm so fucking proud of this group. Honestly, I can't put it into words how proud I am of them.
Yeah.
There's ongoing frustration with the refereeing standards. We touched on that at the start. Yeah, I think that's a wrap. Is there anything that you think we may have missed that you'd like to cover before we get out of here?
I wouldn't say so. I think that's pretty good of coverage of the game. Yeah, it was just, as I say, I need to. I saw the highlights back yesterday evening on the train. But yeah, no, I think that's all good.
Nice one. Next episode is going to be on Tuesday. I've got the Encyclopedia of European Football, which is Angus MacPhail, coming on to preview the Girona game. Yeah, he is so knowledgeable about all things European football. He's lived in quite a few different countries, so that'll be good fun. He did the preview before Atalanta. Are you going to Girona?
No, I'm not going to Girona. I did actually get offered a ticket, but I'm trying to save my money for the knockout rounds. It'd be a decent trip to Girona, but if I spent all the money now on going to Girona and I wasn't able to go to a knockout game, which is actually more important, I would be annoyed at myself. So I decided to give this one a miss.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the thing with this new format. I think when the draw's done for the knockouts, you can actually plot your route to the final, so you can kind of be a bit tactical with like what aways you do and stuff as well. Whereas obviously
should hopefully keep some prices down.
Yeah,
in theory.
Yeah, but I'll be back on Tuesday with Angus to preview the Girona game. It's a weird one, that, where Opta says we're 100% through, but then it's like in other circles you read we still need a point. So I don't really know.
Well, what would it? I think we'd have to. What is it, like an 8-9 goal swing or something along those lines? Like, it's not impossible, but it's sort of very unlikely.
Yeah, but yeah, the team on Wednesday will be very interesting. So yeah, join us on Tuesday to preview that game. If you're watching live on YouTube, drop the stream a like, always goes a long way. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss when we go live for future episodes. If you're listening on audio, give it a 5-star review. And as I always say, share it with your Gooner mates. Yeah, word of mouth goes a long way. I think we're 7 subs away from 350. So if we can get there,
right, get subscribing, guys. We're not far off, so
lovely stuff. Where can people follow you on the socials, Finn?
My Twitter is FinnAFC. Yeah, get me followed if you want. I can't promise Clayton level tactical discussion or anything like that, but you might find it interesting. So yeah.
Lovely stuff. And if you're watching this back live, yeah, share your thoughts in the comments. Intrigued to see that. And the one thing I'm intrigued to see, like I said, pure curiosity, no judgment. Where do you land in the sense of like what is happening with the refereeing in the country at the minute? Because there's clearly a conversation there, and I think there's lots of divided camps. So I'm genuinely curious to see where people land on that. But yeah, thanks again, Finn. Yeah, enjoyed this chat.
No worries, man. Pleasure to be on as always.
Nice one. Thanks, everyone. On to Tuesday's preview before we play Girona on Wednesday. Up the Arsenal.